Hi there. Really excited to be with you today because we're starting our brand new series, What Lockdown, as we look at Paul, who was actually in lockdown, in and studying around his letter to the Philippians. Let's get on with it. So, Paul was writing a letter to the Philippians. Now, what had happened was Epaphroditus had come to visit Paul, who was in literal lockdown because he was a prisoner in Rome. And Epaphroditus had come and actually had got ill while he was there, as we'll see as we go through the letter. And then Paul had written this letter. He had dictated it to Timothy, in fact. So you'll see at the beginning, it's Paul and Timothy both writing it. And Epaphroditus takes the letter back to the people of Philippi. So what can we say right at the beginning? Let's just have a little look at what's going on. The city of Philippi had been around for some time. It had been founded in 360 BC, although Philip II had changed the name, King Philip II, and he was the father of Alexander the Great. So it's got quite a history. It's now a Roman colony, and the people are very proud of their Roman citizenship. And it's on a key route between the east and through to Rome itself. But Paul is writing this letter as a prisoner in Rome. But what comes out from this letter is this amazing letter of joy and thanksgiving, which is why I've called it What Lockdown? Lockdown? What Lockdown? Because it's a letter of joy despite the circumstances that Paul is in. Now, and also we're going to have a little explore. We're going to go into Acts to begin with, because let's find out about what happened when he first went to Philippi, which was around AD 51, because he's obviously got quite a close, tender relationship with this church, and they're very, very supportive of his ministry. And Paul really inspires and encourages, exhorts his readers to keep their trust in Jesus despite the circumstances, and to be the people of prayer and witness that they're called to be. So despite this prison situation, it's a real letter of hope. Paul is just looking forward to the future with a positive hope. And he's wanting his people, really. He's wanting these friends of his to be moving more and more fully into the rich inheritance that they have in Jesus Christ. And so Paul is facing something quite terrible, and he's probably not being treated that brilliantly here in this Roman prison. And it reminds me of something we covered in the last course, but we should mention it here now, the whole thing of where Viktor Frankl would talk about that moment between stimulus and response. And here, why he's in prison, Paul must have had numerous occasions, or even just looking forward to have to choose to live in the freedom that he's preached about. The freedom to choose your own attitude and not be controlled by circumstances or what other people do to you or what other people have said about you. So between every stimulus, there is this moment of freedom where we choose whether we will give in to what people are trying to put upon us and lose our peace and our joy in God because it affects us negatively or in a miserable kind of way. And instead, we can choose to respond to the freedom that Christ has given us. Frankl said that we have a freedom, and it is a freedom to choose our attitude. And actually, he wasn't writing from this point of view, but this is the freedom that Christ has given us, the freedom to choice, freedom to make good choices in Christ. So we're coming into this great time of reset for the church, or we're in this time of great reset to church, and it is a new refresh. And so it's good to look at what went on in Philippi. This is actually the very first European church. Paul, as we'll see later on, has this vision in the night of a man calling him to come to them. He wanted to go off to Asia, and he ends up going to Europe because of this vision. And his first stop in Europe is here in Philippi, where he meets a really unusual group of people. The first person he meets is a woman who is a purple merchant, a wealthy merchant. The first person that is the first convert, I should say. And so this woman, and then she holds the church in her house. And then some of the very first people to join that church are the people that have held him in prison. And so you've got this, they were probably Romans. Lydia is Asian. Paul is Jewish from Israel. So this very first European church is a multi-ethnic church with educated women in some form of leadership in it, because it's meeting in this lady's house. And so what an exciting church to look at, because we're living in that kind of a world right now where people are coming from all over the place, and we're a mixture of people coming together. It's why Paul wrote in the letter to the Ephesians that there is no male, there is no female, there is no slave, there is no free. We are all one in Christ, because in Christ we're all brought together. And so Paul just begins to pen this letter to thinking back to that time of when he was in this Roman city with the people. Paul talks of this, us being citizens of heaven, because these people are so aware of their Roman citizenship. And so Paul wants to remind them that, yes, it's good that you've got your Roman citizenship. In fact, he used the fact that he was a Roman citizen there in the jail because he'd been imprisoned illegally. But he says our true citizenship is in heaven. And he begins to outline this kind of letter of love, which Epaphroditus, who's been seriously ill, is now recovered, and he gives it to him, and he takes this letter back to the Philippians, and they begin to devour it. And of course, this letter spreads throughout the church. So just like they were excited to receive that letter for the first time, let's be excited about what God is going to unfold to us as we look at their letter. Philippi, it's right up in the northeast corner of Greece. There's not much there now. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there's a little village nearby called Philippi, but that's where it comes from. But there's not much left there now. But what they left spiritually, the church today is living in. So we're going to look at the treasures that we've been left and go on this discovery of what Paul wrote then in lockdown. Lockdown? What lockdown? Everyone, God bless you. Keep safe and see you in the next video.